Plaza in South Dallas, which makes investigators believe that the suspects are familiar with the intended victim's daily routines. Police are warning business owners to be on the alert. They believe the criminals are following owners home. Now, John, I talked with you about this yesterday, and you had a couple thoughts that kind of echoed mine on this. Why don't you tell us what you told me yesterday?
Well,
like this says a lot about Asian immigrant business practices.
well, typically, I don't know about your family, but my parents were like when they first came to Korea. When they immigrated from Korea to America, they were grocery store owners. When they closed up shop, they took the cash with them home. Later on, my father became smarter and started investing his money wiser in the bank. I don't know why, but like some Korean business owners take the cash with them, they ought to put it in the bank. So it's kind of like the Korean business owners got to be smarter with that. At the same time, I personally think it is like kind of racially motivated, these robberies.
Yeah, people are
because they think it's an easy target.
It's an easy target.
You're saying
exactly.
they're Asian, they don't know how to complain to the police, and they carry all their money. They're stupid with their money.
More or less, yeah. That's what the criminals may think. It's very similar to sometimes you get the Chinese food delivery guys. They get targeted here in New York City with these cases of that. You know, people make these false these calls. Right. Chinese guys deliver the food, they get jumped, they get beat up, their money gets stolen.
Right, that's chink bashing.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it's called.
Yo, how low can you go, man? That was like a 75-year-old woman, and they like tied her up and bound her head and foot.
Fear for her life.
I mean, come on, man.
This is like a great grandmother here. So I mean, I have a few theories on that. You've said yesterday that this in no way excuses the behavior of these burglars and robbers.
Yeah.
Like nothing gives them the right to break into these people's houses and make them fear for their lives, take all what they've earned, what they've worked for. But I do think there needs to be some reform in Asian immigrant business practices. Now, okay. A lot of Asian immigrants, they like to own their own businesses, and they make them cash businesses because they want to keep all the money in the family. They don't want to have to pay employees. And frankly, they're a little dodgy on their taxes. That's one reason for having cash businesses. Now, William, you've been in banking for a number of years now. Could you tell us briefly, what are the benefits for small business owners or anyone to put their money away in a bank?
You get interest, but I don't know. Maybe they just they like doing things the old-fashioned way. Like people like to do things that they're familiar with,
even if those things are ultimately detrimental to them.
Right, and so I mean, if that's the way they've been doing things since they were kids, or that's the way their parents were doing things since they were kids, that's what's comfortable. I mean, there may not necessarily be like some kind of rule, like oh yeah, we want to save on our taxes or something like that. It might be more basic than that. Just this is the way I was brought up. I'm going to do it this way. I don't care what you say.
Like I put the money under my mattress and that's it.
Well, I don't know about the
because that's what my dad taught me to do, so I'm going to do it.
Okay, John.
There's positive and negative with cash-based businesses because I know other Korean families that do cash-based businesses, and I do agree that they do like to underreport what they earn, and you know what I'm talking about.
But this is not strictly an Asian thing. This is any small business owner. I mean, I would say this is generally the case. They're not going to be completely upfront about their earnings.
Oh, that's true. But the responsibility does fall on the Korean business owner to be smart with their money, not to become targeted from the criminals.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to start a culture where people don't automatically assume that these people run strictly cash businesses and they bring everything home at the end of the night and they stash everything away in the walls or their bookcases at home. That is setting them up to be unlikely targets. Even the ones who aren't doing that, even the ones who are socking their money away in the bank, they're going to start being targeted just because of the practices of the people around them. Okay.
One thing that's really, really alarming in here is that it said that, most of the victims of that crime spree were owners of businesses in a particular shopping plaza. Right. They said the Big T shopping plaza in South Dallas, which means that whoever was doing this, they're like following people home, they're watching them, like following their patterns, and so back to what I was,
shopping at the same complex.
Yeah, so back to what I was saying about people like to do what's comfortable for them. I think when you say we need to have a reform in business practices, it's really a reform in just general your mindset and how you do things and just being safer, really.
Being aware.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me see. Okay, a few other items here. Now, police in Toronto, they're appealing in English and Cantonese for potential witnesses to a shooting death in the city's East Chinatown. The victim, William, could you do the honors?
Oh, Ho Chang Mao.
Okay, he's 47 years old, a father of two. He was killed last Thursday. He was an innocent bystander in a curbside shooting, and he's the city's third homicide victim of the year. He was working in a grocery. He was stacking oranges in the middle of an after-work crowd of shoppers. And police say they're interested in talking to two black men that the lead investigator has said are possible targets. And the duo was seen fleeing the scene in a silver car. Detective Sergeant Pauline Gray says that although not all the details are known yet, Mao, quote, in no way participated in his own death. He didn't walk in the way. He was working. He was standing in his stall. He was doing his job, Gray says. Mao, he did manage to stagger back into the store, but died later at a hospital, unfortunately. Now, the Globe and Mail, that's the paper of record in Canada, they took a closer look at Mao's life. They see that he is a father of two. He was busting his ass to support his family. And the mayor, David Miller, has expressed his outrage. He also says this guy was a family man. He's a working father of two, and there was no reason why he should have been shot and killed like that. And the mayor is actually using Mr. Ho's case to call for a nationwide ban on handguns. So big ups to Toronto Mayor David Miller. And you know what, like, oh yeah, well, you know, this is, I want to say a quick thing about this case. You know, this brings to mind, people say in cases like this, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know what, that's BS, because this guy, he was working. He was working in a grocery, and he was doing his job
stacking oranges
on the sidewalk. You know who was he was in the right place at the right time. He was supporting his family. You know who was in the wrong place at the wrong time? Those dudes who shot up the block. You know, like start pointing the finger at them. And yeah, that's great that the Globe and Mail and the mayor are recognizing this man as the innocent victim that he was. They're not forgetting him. William?
Kansas City, Missouri. 32-year-old Kyung Lee was shot and killed during a robbery at the beauty supply store that he owned. Lee was reportedly working 3 jobs to pay for a doctor's visit for his 6-year-old son, who had fallen on a nail in a parking lot a day earlier. Police are following several leads and encourage anyone with information to call the TIPS hotline at 816-474-TIPS. That's 816-474-8477. Those interested in making donations for Lee's widow and 3 children can send checks written to Mrs. K.S. Lee to Korean American Society Representative Mike Kim at 3523 Prospect Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64128.
Here is another example. This guy just absolutely did not deserve to die. I mean, like, let's look at this. Okay, this guy, he's 32 years old. He's a father of 3 kids. One of his kids is 6 years old, falls on a nail, could possibly lose his life to tetanus, but this guy is so strapped for cash that he can't even afford to take his son to the hospital right away. Can't afford to take him to the ER. So he decides, okay, I have to work. I have to keep working. I have to bust my ass over these next couple days so I can raise, whatever, $600.
You know what that 3 jobs means? That means that he's running his store in the daytime.
Right.
Then after he closes that store, he's probably going to a restaurant to work like the midnight grave shift, and then he's doing it again on weekends.
Right. The article said that at least one of his jobs was he was like an early morning paper boy. He was a paper delivery guy. So what's really sad about this is that Kyung Lee's brother-in-law says he's been robbed before, but he never resisted. But this time he must have resisted. And like, can you imagine a guy? He's desperate. He has to take his son to the hospital. Of course he's going to resist. He lost his life for it. Anyway, that information about the donation, that's also on our website. You can check that out. So we're moving right along.